claim is because the exemption clause in the TBT could really work in the favor of the EC. Therefore, there is issues of questions regards whether the panel did this in view of the legitimacy questions that are currently strongly coming up on the WTO, because them having to consider other values could really support the voices that says the WTO is not a relevant body for this modern type of regulation, because it cannot consist just focusing on one area when these issues are clearly interrelated and they have got impacts on each other. So was the panel trying to defend its own legitimacy or the WTO legitimacy? These are questions that when you read, you find interesting commentaries and observations by the scholars in the field. However, that was the ruling of the panel. When this ruling came out, many also claimed that it has effectively nullified or made the protocol useful in terms of international law, which is not true. Because if the dispute arises between parties to the protocol, then the dispute might be handled under the dispute settlement mechanisms under the protocol. So it's only in cases where some, or even in the WTO, the protocol could then be used because both parties could be bound by the rules of the protocol as well as the WTO. So to that effect, the protocol is still very relevant. But the fact that the most powerful or dominant producers of GM has not become members to the CBD or the protocol is still a big flashing light for disputes that might arise between them and members of the protocol. So that issue, the question is that the strategy that some countries has adopted for the disputes to go to the WTO rather than the CBD dispute settlement measures? So, nevertheless, it does not limit the WTO countries to set lower safety standards. Provided the standards can be scientifically justified, you can still adopt higher standards. And yeah, but again, if it goes to the WTO panel, it will be subjected to the narrowly defined risk assessments, unless maybe the panel considered all the other gaps in the interpretation of the case at hand and decide they are going to use the protocol even as an information source. And therefore, it could inform issues on risk assessment that the WTO has not addressed. And then the watered down precautionary principle that puts really a very vague time limitation that could be interpreted anyway. Could the 270 days that the protocol describe or prescribe fall under a reasonable time period? Because that could then be some of the answers that members could want to address. And again, the international regime in this case did not address the conflicting norms in a manner that could promote sustainable development by virtue of relying on all the structural weaknesses within the system and then narrowly ruling an environmental case on human and animal plant health issues only. It compromises sustainable development, the underlying principle of the international environmental law. So how and to what extent will the challenges due to fragmentation of international law find their way into national legal system? And is fragmentation really peculiar to environmental law? international law. So proactively, the research that I'm engaged in is looking also at some other environmental cases that has been handled within our legal systems to try and answer this. And it is very interesting to see what the outcomes will be in terms of this type of questions. But until we implement the laws, we start to take the decisions, it's very difficult to get data to do such analysis the way one would want to do. And that's the end.
What happened with the merits that brought about the idea of harmonizing the biosafety frameworks in the SADC region?
What happened
to the merits? I believe whoever said somewhere some good reasons to do it. Well, what happened to all that, and now that it has failed? Are they aware that it has failed?
It's very difficult for I believe it's still a valuable exercise. There are still some benefits. But the concerns and the challenges that has been raised or that has discouraged some of the countries to engage in harmonization needs to be looked at. For instance, how do you address the fact that countries are at different levels regards biotechnology and biosafety issues, and then they have to go for a harmonized system? I remember there is somebody from Zimbabwe who is doing specific research in this area, and he's proposing a stratified sort of stratification in terms of grouping the various countries that are at a similar level to engage at similar, and then the others and then to have a dialogue sort of thing. It will be interesting to see really what he is exactly proposing, and then maybe that we could draw lessons from there. But harmonization still has got value, as we have seen. As I also said, that as countries move from non-regulation to regulation, they need to cooperate because these things have got political implications. But the concerns are still standing, but harmonization still has got some place and some importance to ensure a smooth transition, for example, from non-regulation to regulation. Otherwise, there might be these huge trade disruptions at the borders, for example, that might not be desirable for us or even whoever we are trading with. And that might end up into the disputes of the nature that I have just outlined.
It's clear that that's obviously been the motivation. So the advantages of doing that are clear. I'm personally a little skeptical though, because one of the biggest efforts in harmonization was the EU, which just now last week returned to going back. So, but on a positive level, what I would suggest is that we shouldn't think of harmonization as doing everything together. I very much like the East African approach, where they said the last time that I heard, they would do the evaluations in a harmonized way, but the final decision is still within individual countries, like the EU seems to go now in any case. So I think because there you can have a practical advantage of sharing things, testing labs and all those kind of things that are just going to sit there as white elephants. I always talk about this.
Rather within the AU, the unit in Addis that closed, seemingly being resuscitated, was funded by Germany, right? And then there is the ABNI, the African Biosafety Network of Expertise in Ouagadougou, which is now which is pro-biotech, funded by the Gates Foundation. It's fact within the AU, same place. And that has gone on for many, many years.
Okay, Ronnie is taking the floor, and I mean the discussions are nice, confusion is coming in and so on. But let's Ronnie contribute.
I think some form of harmonization would be necessary within, even if we talk about the SADC or the SACU countries, because in terms of implementing the protocol locally at national level, there would need to be some understanding, otherwise we will have trade issues. We have just talked about the regulations, and in terms of labeling, you know, South Africa has their regulations. Some people say we as a sovereign country do not have to go with what they say. But yes, that's true, but it would be better if we all come to an agreement and have a common understanding to not run into these kind of trade issues.
Let's have Imo summarize something. Last word.
Yeah, let's just support also what you have said. There is room, or there is need for harmonization, but it needs to be clarified probably what are the issues that needs to be harmonized, and to what extent that harmonization is possible, that all the countries can live with it. And then also, I do not know, the issue of funding needs to really put high on some kind of an agenda. Maybe as we discuss the way forward, how do we lobby these regional bodies to see the need? They do see the need, but to support the need with the resources that it deserves. I think that would be a challenge, but challenges needs to be taken on to make things happen, I think.
Nada, you have something to say?
I think what we have to do really is like reports from these meetings, from the workshops like this, have to be also, some of these points needs to be sent to SADC, since we are also meeting as SADC countries, and our views can only be heard when we make them available to them. And I think we will look into that with Ella and see what we can actually send to SADC, and because they have to take it up and they have to make funding available.
Thank you very much. I think we're ending on a nice note, not ending, but just rather, briefly breaking. When we come back after a short break, I presume it will be short, then we will certainly engage this matter more in groups, and then as a whole plenary on the way forward. So let's grab some tea and break a bit, stretch. We are behind time, so we need to agree on what time we come back so that we can at least be able to interpret the matter we have ahead of us sufficiently. How much time do you think we should do? We have 15 minutes. Let's do 15 minutes and then we quickly converge here and we embark on the way forward discussion. All right, I think we will kick off now. Before we go into the discussion on the way forward, Martha has a pending commitment, and she wants to just say a few words that we can allow her to rush off while we remain in Waima. But 10 or 15 minutes, like I told you yesterday, to think about some way forward points yesterday. Do you remember I begged you to do that? Did it happen? We'll see, but anyway, don't panic. I think we'll get it sorted. Martha, are you?
I don't know, I haven't said good morning, but we spoke, all of us. So I would like, my boss has just requested that we have another meeting. So I'll be leaving now before the closure. So I wanted to say one or two words just to thank all the participants for coming. And I really hope that this afternoon you will have some time off to go through town and just look at Windhoek. And I'm sure you will be motivated to come back for holidays. So this has been a very interesting workshop. And the presenters, I'm sure they all did us proud and we were all happy. And the discussions were well good. And I'm sure when you go back to your countries, you are going to give them the report, and I'm sure you will also encourage the others to participate in this type of workshops, because they are really giving knowledge to us. We can not only be talking about biotechnology and saying yes or saying no, but without really understanding what everything is actually involved in that. It's only knowledge with knowledge that we can actually advance. Without the knowledge, then we are actually stuck somewhere. And it has been a very good workshop, and I'm sorry I could not attend and participate in all the sessions, but from what I keep on getting piece by piece, I actually regret that I couldn't participate fully. But I mean, when you are hosting, there are some of these issues that one needs to take care of. But our team has been very good and has done a very good job, and I would like to thank them as well. And as I said, I'm thanking the presenters, the participants, and I wish you safety. What is safety? I'm now talking about safety. A safe trip back home. And think about the biosafety as well when you get back and on the way back. And when you get some articles or some information that you would like to share with us all, because we have now become one team. So when you find something that you think might be of interest, please just communicate it. And if you don't have everybody's email, I'm sure everyone here knows Ella, and you have her email. So you can actually forward that information, and it can either be put on the VRE, whatever, something, or it can be communicated to all the other participants here. And with that, I would really like to thank you, and I really wish you all the best. Prof. Aida is going to say something concerning the next training, and I'm sure you are going to enjoy it, and look forward to that. Thank you.
Let's right away move on to the next part, which is the way forward on biotechnology and biosafety in Southern Africa. We just been hearing from, what was emerging, the comments coming from Imo's presentation, that sometimes when funding dries out, things tend to, become weak. We hope this is not going to be the case after this workshop. What we want to do is to get everybody to give us some contribution. That's why it's supposed to be an open discussion. Everybody is going to give us some contribution on what they really wish should be the way forward after this workshop. So we will break off into groups, 2 groups, and in our groups we want to discuss, or we want to allow ourselves to at least have a list of things that we wish should happen from now going forward, number 1. And just to allow us to think hard when we come back for plenary, to also list some few things that we don't wish to happen in this topic, so that we can get a feeling of what is really going on in the brains there. What do you want to happen? We don't have to worry about the reasons, but what you don't wish to happen, and maybe a reason why you don't wish that to happen. So how do we break ourselves into groups? We want to be really